Absolutely. Here's a clean, emotionally tightened rewrite that keeps the heart of the story but smooths the pacing, sharpens imagery, and raises a dramatic impact. I've kept it cinematic and readable, like a short viral story or narrated piece. The airport hummed with its usual chaos, rolling suitcases, boarding calls, hurried footsteps. Then the energy shifted. Whispers rippled through the terminal. Cameras appeared. People stepped aside as a familiar figure moved through the crowd, flanked by Secret Service agents. President Donald Trump was passing through the airport on his way to a special event. Everyone cleared a path. Everyone except one man. A tall airport security guard stepped forward and raised his hand. "Mr. President, I need to stop you here." Gasps echoed. The terminal froze. Secret Service agents tightened their formation, hands hovering near their earpieces. Phones lifted higher, recording what felt like the start of something unthinkable. Trump stopped. He studied the guard calmly. "What's the meaning of this?" he asked, his voice steady. The guard didn't flinch. There was no anger in his eyes, only resolve. His name tag read, David Carter. "Before you take another step, sir," David said, "there's something I need to say." The airport fell silent. David Carter wasn't an ordinary security guard. Years earlier, he had served 8 years as a Marine, deployed overseas in brutal conditions. When he came home, the war didn't end. It followed him. His wife, Laura, had fallen gravely ill. Their 7-year-old daughter, Emily, was battling a rare heart condition. Endless hospital visits, crushing medical bills, sleepless nights. To survive, David took a job at the airport. Every day he stood at his post, enforcing rules, greeting travelers, trying to bear the weight of everything he carried. But when he saw the president walking toward him, something inside him stirred. "I'm not stopping you for politics," David said, his voice controlled but trembling underneath. "I'm stopping you because families like mine are drowning." People lowered their phones. This wasn't a stunt. "Soldiers come home," David continued. "We serve our country, and then we're forgotten. My daughter's medicine costs more than my paycheck." Trump didn't interrupt. He listened. "I don't want favors," David said. "I don't want money. I just need someone in power to actually hear us." A Secret Service agent leaned in. "Sir, we need to move." Trump raised his hand. "Hold. You're a Marine?" Trump asked. "Yes, sir. 8 years. And now you're guarding gates." David's jaw tightened. "Because that's what life demanded. Serving my country was my honor. Serving my family is my duty." The honesty hit the room like a wave. "What's your daughter's name?" Trump asked quietly. "Emily. She's 7. She dreams of becoming a pilot." David swallowed. "But some days, I don't know if she'll get the chance." Trump stepped closer. "Tell me everything." David took a breath. "Emily was born with a heart condition. She's had 3 surgeries already. She needs another. Insurance covers some, but not enough. We sold our car, our furniture, everything." His voice cracked. "Last week she asked me if Santa could bring her a new heart. How do you answer that?" Tears spread through the crowd. A mother clutched her child. A businessman stared at the floor. "There are thousands like us," David said. "Veterans, parents, families trying to keep their kids alive." Trump placed a hand on David's shoulder. "You risked your career stopping me today," he said. "Why?" David stood taller. "Because if I didn't, my daughter's voice would never be heard. I'd rather lose my job than lose my chance to fight for her." Trump turned to his agents. "Stand down." Then he faced the crowd. "This man isn't just a guard. He's a father, a Marine, a reminder of what courage really looks like." He turned back to David. "You've done your duty. Now I want to do mine. I want to meet Emily." Room 307 smelled of disinfectant and crayons. Emily sat in her hospital bed, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Laura looked up in shock as the door opened and Secret Service agents stepped aside. Then the president entered. Emily's eyes widened. "Daddy, is that?" "Yes, sweetheart," David whispered. "That's the president." Trump approached slowly and sat beside her. "Hello, Emily. Your dad tells me you're very brave." "I'm not brave," she said softly. "I'm scared." "That's okay," Trump replied. Being scared just means you're human. And sometimes that makes you stronger than everyone else. Emily studied him. Mr. President, can you fix hearts? The room went still. No, Trump said gently, but I can help the people who can. He handed her a pen. Whenever you're scared, hold this. And remember, you've got someone fighting for you. Emily smiled and closed her fingers around it. For one moment, the machines faded, the fear faded. All that remained was a little girl, holding hope in her hands, and believing she wasn't alone. When Trump stepped aside, Laura rose from Emily's bedside. Her hands trembled as she approached him. Mr. President, she whispered, voice breaking, I don't even know what to say. We felt invisible for so long, and now you're here. Trump shook his head gently. I'm here because your husband was brave enough to stop me, and because your daughter is braver than both of us. Laura swallowed hard. Do you know what Emily asked me last week? She said. She asked if she should stop dreaming, because dreams were too expensive. Trump's jaw tightened. He turned toward Emily, who sat humming softly, coloring on a notepad. No child should ever stop dreaming, he said firmly. Not in this country. Not anywhere. David slipped an arm around Laura. He listened, he whispered. He really listened. Tears streamed down Laura's face. Maybe this is the miracle we prayed for. Trump's eyes softened. Miracles come in many forms, he said quietly. Sometimes they look like stubborn fathers who refuse to stay silent. David bowed his head, overwhelmed. He never imagined that stepping in front of the president would lead here, the hope he hadn't felt in years. But what followed would ripple far beyond one hospital room. As Trump exited, he pulled his phone from his pocket. Get me the health secretary, he told an aide. Minutes later, his voice carried down the hall. Low, firm, unmistakable. I want to know why families like the Carters are drowning in medical bills. I want answers today. And I want solutions, not excuses. The aide scribbled furiously. Trump ended the call and turned back to David. This doesn't end here. You lit a fire, and I intend to keep it burning. David instinctively snapped into a salute, his hand shaking. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say nothing, Trump replied, returning the salute. Just keep being the father your daughter believes you are. The hospital staff stood silently. Nurses whispered. A doctor wiped away tears. This wasn't a visit. It was a promise. By morning, the story had gone viral. Videos from the airport flooded social media. Airport guard stops Trump. What happens next will leave you in tears. Messages poured in from everywhere. Prayers, donations, letters. Emily's photo, clutching the pen, became a symbol of hope. David sat beside her bed, scrolling through his phone. Laura, a family in Texas, wants to help with the surgery. A teacher in Ohio says her class is making cards. Laura pressed a hand to her chest. We're not alone anymore. Then came the call. David, Trump said over the line, I meant what I said. We're not just changing your daughter's life. We're changing the system that failed you. Emily's condition worsened before it improved. Some nights alarms pierced the silence as doctors rushed in. David held her hand, whispering, Stay with me, sweetheart. I will, she'd murmur. I'm brave, remember? The morning of surgery arrived too soon. As nurses wheeled Emily down the hall, she clutched the pen. Daddy, will it hurt? You'll be asleep, David said softly. And when you wake up, your heart will be stronger. And then I'll be a pilot, she whispered. Yes, he said, fighting tears. You will. Wait. Trump stood at the end of the hall. He knelt beside her bed. You're the bravest pilot I've ever met, he said. And when you're better, I'll come watch your first flight. Promise? Emily asked. I promise. The waiting room felt suffocating. Laura prayed. David paced. Trump refused to leave. Finally, the surgeon emerged, exhausted, smiling. She made it, she said. The surgery was a success. David collapsed into a chair. Laura sobbed into his arms. Trump closed his eyes. Thank God. Recovery was slow but hopeful. Emily laughed again. She drew airplanes. One afternoon she whispered, Daddy, I'm not scared anymore. Trump visited quietly weeks later. No cameras, No speeches. He handed Emily a small model airplane for the future pilot. "Will you fly with me someday?" she asked. "Only if you promise not to fly too high," he said, smiling. Late one night, David watched Emily sleep. "One choice changed everything," he whispered. Laura squeezed his hand. "Because you refused to stay quiet." News of Emily's recovery spread nationwide. Veterans wrote. Parents thanked him. And Trump, true to his word, pushed for reform. "This isn't politics," he said before Congress. "It's about children like Emily and the parents who refuse to give up." Years later, Emily would tell the story herself. Sometimes she'd say, "You have to stand in the way, not to stop someone, but to make them see what really matters." David never sought fame. He just wanted to save his daughter. But his courage created a ripple that touched millions and reminded the world what hope looks like when someone refuses to stay silent.